Okay. All right, so we're doing section 3.4. And this is part A. Okay, and this is basically graphing with DESMOS, okay? Graphing with DESMOS. Now, in a sense, we're going to be solving quadratics. And yeah, with DESMOS. But we're going to be solving quadratics. Normally, when you solve quadratics, you have to like factor them, or you got to use the quadratic formula, which is over there in the poster on the red side. It's that big old function x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So you can use that as well. But there's easier ways. Okay, there's easier ways, and unfortunately, you can't always use the easier ways because they might say, well, you can't use a graphing calculator on this test. So then you got to figure out other ways, but we're going to show you the many ways that you can do it. So we're going to start off with the ways of DESMOS, okay? But before we do that, I want to go over the first 4 questions from the homework, okay? So the first question says, explain what a zero is from a quadratic equation. So for number 1, they say, what is a zero? Now, obviously a zero is a number 0, but they're saying in the context of these problems, what is a zero? So here's a definition of it. So a zero is where the quadratic function touches the x-axis. Okay, a zero is where the quadratic function touches the x-axis. The reason why they call it a zero is because any number on the x-axis, if you think about it, any point on the x-axis, like you have 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 4, 0. You notice every single number ends with 0, right? Every point says 1, 0, 2, 0, right? So the reason why they call them zeros is because if you were to look on your graph, the y value for the points that touch the x-axis have zeros on it. Okay, so that's why they call them zeros. So a zero is where the quadratic function touches the x-axis. Now, question number 2. Question number 2 says, what is another name for zeros of quadratic equations? So I'm just going to put right here, other names. So they'll be called solutions. Sometimes they say, like, what are the solutions? So that means what are the zeros? They might say, what are the zeros, or what are the roots? Okay? Or they could even say to find the answers. So they could tell you whenever you're trying to find answers to these quadratic functions, they might say find the answer, or find the zeros, or find the roots, or find the solutions. Okay, those are all words they can use to mean solutions, right? Find the answers. Where does it cross the x-axis? Okay, so that one's not too hard. Question number 3. How can you use graphing to solve a quadratic equation? What are the solutions located on the graph? We actually just kind of answered that in part 1. Okay, how can you use graphing to solve a quadratic equation? So for the first part, how to use graphing. They just want you to explain it. It doesn't have to be like a paragraph or anything, but you can say, we graph the function and find the x-intercepts. That's how you use graphing. You're going to graph the function and then find the x-intercepts. And then it says, where are the solutions located? Well, I just mentioned that, right? So I'm just going to put, where are they? Where are the answers? So we're going to put on the x-axis. You guys could answer question number 4, right? What is the best website, app, graphing calculator to use to solve quadratic equations by graphing? DESMOS, right? So you guys can put that up there. I don't know if it's the best one, but it's the most affordable because it's free and everybody can find it. It's online and you don't have to worry about purchasing anything. The best thing is usually a graphing calculator because that does a lot too. But if you don't want to buy one of those, then DESMOS is definitely it. So let's switch over to DESMOS really quick, okay? I may not do any of the problems that you guys have on your worksheet because trust me, it really isn't something I need to do for you guys, but I do want to show you how some of these things are done, okay? And they're very easy. So let me just switch over to it. Now, you notice how in the worksheet all of these equations say equal to 0? Right? So number 5 says b squared plus 5b minus 6 equals 0. Number 6 says n squared minus 11n plus 30 equals 0. At least the first 4, or actually first 5. And then the next 3 look a little different. We'll talk about that. But at least they start off everyone equals 0. Look at the directions on top. It says solve each equation by graphing. Set each equation equal to y. Instead of 0, set it equal to y. And then use desmos.com. So let me just put the keyboard on here. This will make it easier for me to type stuff out. So check this out. All I'm going to do, by the way, if it says B, N, V, whatever, change those letters to X's for Desmos, okay? Because notice if I write 7p squared minus 3p, and let me put y equals 2, because you say make sure everything's y equals 2. It could still graph it for you, and it should be okay. All right? But the problem is sometimes if you don't put equals to y, it may not do it. So if you just want to be safe, you can change all the variables to x's. It doesn't matter. You could also just do it with the letters they have. But let me show you something like this. So here's one equation. Okay, let me make sure this is set up for projector. That way it looks a little better. So there's one equation. So y equals 7p squared minus 3p minus 4. So this would be kind of like something you see here, right? They want me to find the solution. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to touch the graph. Okay, so I'm just going to touch that on my screen. You see how these little dots show up? Okay, this little dot is the minimum. This is the lowest it gets. This dot here, so I'll show it to you. So here's the lowest that it can get, that value. Okay, but that's not what they're asking us. The other dot is your y-intercept. Notice x is 0, y is negative 4. That's not what they're asking us to do. What they want us to do is to find the solutions, the roots, right? So I'm going to touch the points that are on the x-axis. So all you have to do is write that answer, and you're done. You get it? So to do your work, all you have to do is write the answer 1, 0 and negative 0.571, 0, and you're done with that problem. Okay? And that's it. That's all there is to it. So I'll do like number 5 for us here. Let me show you what number 5 looks like. And then we'll talk about the other stuff. But number 5 is a b squared plus 5b minus 6. So I'm going to put y equals to b squared plus 5b minus 6. And by the way, I'm typing this out, but you could always open up right here. There's a little keypad that can come out so you can type everything out. Okay, you just press this little icon on the bottom left corner. It should be right there. Okay, it says show keypad. So you can do it like that too, or if you want to type it out, that's fine too. So all they want us to do, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. They want us to find the solutions for this. So look, I'm going to go right here. I'm going to put that point, and I'm going to put that point. There's your answer to number 5. Negative 6, 0 and 1, 0. So write that down right now. See what I mean? This is supposed to be really easy. Okay, you're just literally typing in what they have there, but you set y equals to. But you're going to type in what's there, and then you're going to get the answers by clicking on the screens. Okay? Now, the only thing, and I'm not even sure if this will work, so let's find out. Let's look at something like number 10. So look at number 10. I don't know if this is going to work, but if it doesn't, I'll show you what you're supposed to do. I'm typing it out exactly the way it's shown. It might work. I don't know. Oh, wait, it's not 25V. It's plus 25 equals 40V. So notice, it doesn't work, right? It's like, I have no idea what you want me to do with this, all right? So what you have to do is you're going to have to move that 40V over. Set everything to one side. So try setting everything to one side. Sorry about that. So yeah, so look, if I move the 40 over, what does it look like? If I move that 40V over to the left side, what does my equation look like?
7V squared
minus 40V plus 25, and I'm going to put y equals 2, and there you go. Now it pops up, okay? So I just have to rewrite my equation so that it's not equal to like an x, it's not equal to a 7n squared. It has to be equal to 0 in a sense, right? You got to move all the variables to the same side, okay? So now that I did that, I'm going to zoom out just a bit so we can see it, okay? So there's the graph. Here's my x-axis, okay? You can tell which one the x-axis is because of these numbers right here. You'll see it right here listed like 50. So I'm just going to click on that number and that number right there. So those are my two answers, 0.714, comma 0 and 5, comma 0. Those are your answers for number 10. Easy enough? I hope so. Okay, so just remember, if it's not equal to 0, like 10, 11, and 12, if they're not equal to 0, you're going to have to make them equal to 0 first by moving your variables over. And then once you do that, then write it out into DESMOS, y equals whatever your equation is. Okay, so that's it for today.